Right now, there's a Russian airliner sitting on a factory floor in Irkutsk. Wings, engines, fresh paint, all there, and yet it's never carried a single paying passenger. Meanwhile, 5,000 miles away, a Chinese jet that Boeing and Airbus once dismissed as a pipe dream has already flown over 4.5 million people across 42 routes. Same goal, same decade, and yet one's stuck on the ground while the other's already in the air. So which of these two challenges has a real shot at breaking the Boeing-Airbus duopoly? And why does the answer say everything about how you disrupt a 50-year fortress? Before we get to the challenges, you need to understand exactly what they're up against, because this isn't just two big companies that make good planes. For 50-odd years, while other manufacturers have come and gone, when talking about the world stage, this has been an impenetrable fortress made of four walls. Wall number one is scale. Boeing and Airbus build hundreds of these jets a year, so every bolt, rivet, seat cushion, it all gets cheaper the more they make. A new competitor can't just build a good plane, they have to build thousands of them before the economics can start to make sense. Wall number two is the support network. When an airline buys an A320 or a 737, they're not just buying a jet, they're buying a promise. A promise that spare parts will show up in Lagos, Lima, or Louisville within hours if something breaks. Boeing and Airbus have spent decades building that web, and nobody else has it. Wall 3 is certification. A stamp of approval from the FAA in America or EASA in Europe is basically a passport, absolutely vital for existence. Without it, most of the world's airlines simply won't touch your jet, no matter how good it might be. And wall number 4 is money. Western export banks and financing arms have backed Boeing and Airbus sales for decades, making it much easier for airlines everywhere to afford these jets. Almost nobody else has ever cleared all four of these walls, which is exactly why what Russia and China are attempting right now is such a big deal. Because they're attempting to build more than just planes. They're trying to build entirely different fortresses of their own, using two completely opposite blueprints. Here's one of the most interesting bits. Because the MS-21 and the C919 are not at all the same story wearing different paint. They're actually more or less two opposite bets on how you beat a duopoly. Russia's approach with the MS-21 is what you might call aviation independence, whether it wants it or not. After the raft of sanctions in 2022 locked Russia out of Western engines, avionics and composite materials, the plan changed overnight. Instead of buying key parts from the West, Russia set out to rebuild almost the entire aircraft using homegrown technology. Sometimes, sanctions and isolation drive innovation. So they created an entirely new composite wing, built with an out-of-autoclave process nicknamed the Black Wing. A new domestically designed engine called the PD-14. Even the brakes, the generators, and the weather radar, they're all being swapped for Russian-made versions one system at a time. The MS-21 also has a genuinely significant USP. A cabin that's internally about 3.81 meters wide, noticeably roomier than the 3.7 and 3.54 meters on the A320 and the 737 respectively. On paper, that's real product differentiation. China's approach with the C919 is almost the mirror image. Instead of cutting ties with the West, COMAC initially leaned into them. The 919 currently flies on CFM's LEAP 1 Charlie engine, the same engine family that powers the 737 MAX and the Airbus A320neo. And it uses multiple Western avionics and systems. The strategy here wasn't independence, it was integration and notably certification. Build a plane that looks and feels familiar to Western regulators and pilots, prove it in a massive captive home market, and use that as leverage to eventually earn the FAA and EASA stamps that unlock the rest of the world. So we can picture it like this. Russia is trying to build its own fortress from scratch, brick by brick, alone. Meanwhile, China is trying to sneak inside the West's fortress and set up shop from within. Only one of these plans has actually delivered a passenger yet, and we already know which one. So let's talk hardware, because there are some interesting specs here that I didn't know about. The MS-21's black wing genuinely is a nice piece of engineering. Composite construction shaves meaningful weight off the airframe, and that wider fuselage is a real selling point for passenger comfort. The PD-14 engine represents Russia's first serious, modern, high-bypass turbofan, and it's a legitimate technical achievement for an industry that spent years relying on Soviet-era designs. I should point out though that its 8.5:1 ratio is still significantly behind the current generation of Western engines, which have been on the market for over a decade now, which for a brand new product is not ideal. There's also another major catch. After the sanctions hit, engineers had to swap out dozens of Western-made systems for domestic replacements. Everything from cockpit avionics to anti-icing systems to the weather radar. As of late 2025, engineers said around 3 to 4 foreign-made systems were still being replaced. That's definite progress, but it also means the fully Russian MS-21 is still, quite literally, a work in progress, being tested in the air as we speak. The C919 took the opposite bet initially, and it shows in the numbers. Because it flies Western engines and avionics, airlines get proven, battle-tested technology from day one, which massively lowers the risk of buying an unfamiliar jet. The cockpit and the flying characteristics are also deliberately close to the A320 family, which means pilots can transition with less training. That's a huge deal for airlines, but it's also China's biggest vulnerability. Every LEAP 1C engine on a C919 comes from a Western supplier, and CFM already struggles to keep up with demand from Boeing and Airbus themselves. China knows this, which is exactly why it's racing to finish its own homegrown CJ1000A engine. The CJ1000A completed its first flight in 2025, with certification expected in 2028 to 2030. So, we've two very different weaknesses. Russia's problem is unproven homegrown tech. China's problem is a dependency it's trying to engineer its way out of. Neither has fully solved their problem yet. And that brings us to the part that actually decides who wins. Money and orders. Here's that painful number again for Russia. As of mid-2026, the MS-21 has delivered exactly 0 aircraft to a paying customer. Certification of the fully Russified version has been pushed back again and again, most recently to sometime around the first quarter of 2027, according to Rostec's own chief executive. Aeroflot has committed to 100 MS-21s with options for 100 more through the 2030s. But every single MS-21 order comes from state-owned or state-linked Russian carriers who genuinely have no other option because sanctions have locked them out of new Boeing and Airbus jets entirely. That's not market validation, that's simply a captive audience. China's C919 is further along, but further along doesn't mean that it's home free. It entered commercial service in May 2023, and by the end of 2025, COMAC had delivered 31 of them, almost entirely to 3 big state-backed carriers, China Eastern, Air China, and China Southern. The target for 2026 delivery sits at 30 jets. To put that in perspective, Boeing and Airbus each deliver several jets like that in a single week when things are running smoothly. On paper, COMAC claims 1,035 orders, but dig into the details and hundreds of those are from undisclosed customers, and almost all of the named buyers are Chinese airlines or Chinese leasing companies. So, just like the MS-21, the C919's order book right now is mostly a story of one government buying from itself. Here's the twist though. China does have one thing that Russia doesn't, which is a genuine shot at breaking out of that bubble. EASA has actually put pilots and technicians on the ground in Shanghai and is running real in-flight certification tests throughout 2026. That is active progress, not just a promise. Guillaume Faury of Airbus has repeatedly cited COMAC as being a significant future player in the market. The catch is, EASA's own leadership has said full European approval could still take another 3 to 6 years from where things stand right now. Even if you solve the plane, you haven't solved the business. Because, as I said before, airlines don't just buy a jet, they buy a support ecosystem as well. Russia's MS-21 support network exists, if at all, almost entirely inside Russia's own borders. No global maintenance network, no international parts pipeline, no training centres scattered across the world the way Boeing and Airbus have built over the decades. If an MS-21 breaks down somewhere outside Russia, there's currently no answer for that, which is a significant deterrent to airlines looking at their next purchase, especially when it's a new and unproven machine. China, with their C919, is genuinely building something more global. COMAC has opened offices in Hong Kong and Singapore, and it's been courting airlines across Southeast Asia. But building is still the key word. It's early days, and it's a tiny fraction of the reach Boeing and Airbus have spent 50 years assembling. Simply put, it takes time. And pilot training tells much the same story from a different angle. The MS-21 needs a completely separate type rating, which is expensive and time-consuming for any airline outside Russia to even consider. The C919, because it was deliberately designed to feel like an A320, while still also a separate type rating, offers a smoother transition for experienced pilots, which is a real competitive advantage once it clears Western certification. So who's actually winning the infrastructure race? Well, it would seem clear that China is. But winning a race nobody else is competing in doesn't mean you've reached the destination. Here's the uncomfortable truth sitting behind all of this. Neither of these jets exists in a vacuum. Both are hostages to politics whether they like it or not. Russia's isolation right now is almost total. Since 2022, aside from some limited bypasses through the UAE and other routes, Western engines, composites, and avionics are simply off the table, and EASA suspended certification for the original MS-21 back in March 2022. Everything now has to be built domestically, which is either a remarkable act of national resilience or a very expensive science experiment, depending on who you ask, and depending on whether that homegrown tech actually performs once it's flying thousands of hours a year with real passengers on board. China's position is more of a tightrope walk. It needs those Western engines to fly today, while it's simultaneously racing to build its own engine to escape that dependency tomorrow. And EASA certification, the one thing that could turn the C919 from a domestic success story into a genuine global competitor, is a process that runs directly through European politics, trade tensions, and diplomatic goodwill, not just engineering checklists. There have even been reports of China slowing down approvals for Airbus deliveries around the same time as it's pushing hard for its own certification progress. Make of that what you will. Meanwhile, Boeing and Airbus aren't exactly standing still and waiting to get disrupted either. Updated versions of the 737 MAX, the A320neo, and the longer-range A321 XLR keep rolling out, and Western control over the global supply of jet engines and avionics remains a serious form of leverage that neither Russia nor China has yet fully escaped. Most recently, Airbus's Guillaume Faury has explicitly confirmed that they're planning to launch their E-Action program to replace the A320 by 2030, meaning that the aircraft China and Russia are currently trying to benchmark against is itself soon going to be obsolete. So who's actually got the better shot at breaking this 50-year duopoly? The MS-21 story right now is one of genuine engineering pride paired with a painfully slow reality. Clever wing, moderately decent engine, roomy cabin, and forced domestic demand. But 0 deliveries as of mid-2026, no Western certification and none likely anytime soon, and a support network that stops at the Russian border. This is a jet built to survive, not to conquer. The C919 story is more promising, but far from finished. It is flying, is carrying millions of real passengers, and it's the only one of the two actively pushing through EASA test flights right now. But it's still leaning on Western engines it doesn't fully control, its own homegrown engine is years away from being ready, and full European certification could still be 3 to 6 years out, even in an optimistic scenario. And it suffered a public blow earlier this year when China Eastern, the C919's biggest customer, announced its intention to buy 101 Airbus A320neos in a deal worth around $15 billion, due to COMAC's inability to scale production. If you're placing a bet on which jet is more likely to actually dent Boeing and Airbus's global market share by the mid-2030s, then the C919 is clearly ahead. Not because it's necessarily better engineered, but maybe because it chose the smarter fight. It didn't try to beat the West Fortress from the outside, it built a door into it, one that Russia locked itself out of in 2022. So let's sum this all up. Boeing and Airbus have basically run this show for the past 50-odd years, and they still hold around 95% of the narrowbody market. Russia's MS-21 chose total self-reliance after sanctions cut it off from the West. And that pride comes at a cost. They have 0 deliveries and no international certification as of now in mid-2026. China's C919 chose the opposite path, leaning on Western engines and avionics in order to prove itself quickly, and it's already carried over 4.5 million passengers while actively working through EASA certification. But both jets are still mostly propped up by their own government buying from themselves. The duopoly's not dead, at least not yet. However, for the first time in decades, there are 2 real challenges on the runway, and how this plays out over the next 10 or 15 years could genuinely reshape who builds the planes the world flies on in the future. Thank you so much for watching, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I really look forward to seeing you next time. Bye bye.